Hey, everybody, this is Jeremiah Craig coming at you for another episode of Ask the Bootmaker. Today, we have a special guest in Holly Henry. She is award-winning machine right now over the past few months. How's it going, Holly? Thank you for joining this Ask the Bootmaker.
I'm good. Thanks for having me, Jeremiah.
I really appreciate you taking the time to come on here as a guest, and I just think it's so cool that you are out and about winning awards everywhere. You won the Journeyman Award for a pair of boots at Wichita Falls in October, and you just won third place on another pair of boots, a different pair of boots at the World Leather Debut in Sheridan. I'm wondering, is anything changing for you after these awards, or is it just like business as usual?
Oh man. Well, actually, I did get a new client from Wichita Falls, which I was very happy about. Somebody kind of reached out to me on Facebook Messenger out of the blue. I don't really use Facebook very much, so I was like, I have to ask, like, how did you find me? And he was like, oh, my wife saw your boots at Wichita Falls, and I asked her to kind of take notes on, like, interesting makers, and I'm interested in making having pairs of boots made. So they took my name, and that's how that happened. So, I think it's good for not only, the yay, I won an award, but just for getting yourself out there as a new bootmaker and up and comer, to, show your work off and try to rope some new people in to trusting you with their footwear.
No doubt. And it was incredible that those boots were stand outs. Was it your first time at both those events?
Yeah, it was my first time entering work in a trade show like that. So can't complain.
Both, and at Wichita Falls, it was the first one, and at the World Leather Debut, that was your first time competing in that one too.
Yes. So I attended the World Leather Debut and that trade show, the Rocky Mountain Leather Trade Show, last year as a vendor with my mentor Jim, and he entered boots, but I wasn't quite prepared at that point. So I was just watching from a distance. But this year, just self-motivation and Jim really encouraging me to put work in, paid off. So
nice. That's awesome. Did anything other than did you come away with anything other than the awards from those experiences, or did they pretty much just meet your expectations, those trade shows? Was it just the way that it was, or something special other than the awards?
I feel like when you're making a pair of show boots, there's always just that extra pressure of, oh, it has to be perfect. And of course, it's never going to be perfect. It's handmade. We don't want it to be perfect. But, every time you mess up, you see it super hard. And, you're like, oh man, like there goes my ribbon. Like I said, like there goes my ribbon like 100 times when I made this last pair of boots that I entered. It's like, oh man, that's terrible. I'm going to get torn up. So I think it's a really good learning experience, and it's just a good challenge to have for yourself. I mean, going to that show, I was like not expecting anything. I was really just excited to have that as my motivator to finish a pair of boots a lot faster than I normally get to with my apprenticeship and doing repair work. I was working on them pretty much consistently for a couple weeks, and it was a good learning experience to have all of that time to focus on just making boots. And they were for a customer, so it was like kill two birds with one stone kind of situation.
Nice. Yeah, I've heard that a lot of bootmakers will just take the boots that they have most recently to show. But you're also saying that you planned on bringing these as you were building them, like both pairs of boots.
Yes. Oh yeah, I did enter another pair. I entered two pairs. The second one didn't place at all, but they were kind of a last minute hustle for the end of it. But yeah, they were both. One was made pretty much just for show for this trade show, and the other one was, it just happened, the timing lined up, and I felt good about the design, and I thought they were a pretty sharp looking pair of boots, so I put them in, and yeah, glad I did.
Cool. Do you think that you might do that again this year, either at the next Boot and Saddle Makers Roundup in Wichita Falls or the next one in Sheridan, Wyoming? Make boots specifically for the competition, or just if a client's boots are done, bring those ones?
I have one pair in mind. Actually, it was the gentleman who found me from Wichita Falls last year that reached out just recently. The pair of boots that he's kind of describing and designing, I'm like already kind of, like, I feel like when you go to the trade shows, you get this like fever, which is good. Like it's a motivator, it's inspiring. And so as soon as we get home from Sheridan, I'm like already planning what I want to do for Wichita Falls. I'm really lucky that my mentor goes to both shows so that I get to participate in both shows. And you can ship boots in for the most part and have them entered that way. But I feel like just being there has that extra edge and, excitement to it. So I'm definitely already thinking about Wichita Falls, and that one pair of boots I think will work for the show, and we'll see what else happens from there. I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna put too much pressure on myself.
I hear you. Could you give us a hint into what like category you're thinking about entering these boots? Top stitching, like intermediate dress boots, like which category? Can you give us a little bit on that?
Well, for this boots, it would be top stitching, which I'm really nervous about, because I would self-proclaim that to be my weakest skill as far as boot making goes, because I've been an apprentice for like 5 years, and a good bulk of that has been doing a lot of bottom work. So putting soles on, inseaming, finishing stuff out, and not so much top stitching. So it's a huge challenge for myself, but I'm really excited. I figure if I start practicing my stitching more now, that by the time it's ready for competition, I'll be good to go.
Yeah, no doubt. That's a good way to motivate yourself to get better at it, is to, you have to get good at it if you want to win the intermediate, because you can't be in journeyman anymore because you already won it.
I can't. Yeah, I got to play with the big dogs now. But there's some quote I'll paraphrase, but basically it's like, do it scared, like it's okay to be hesitant and be scared, but do it anyways and grow and learn from it. So I'm really leaning into that with this idea.
Yeah, that's a good way to go. I feel like I do that every day. Like I'm scared every live, like you said you were nervous. I'm nervous every time I go live, and this is my second time live today. Like I'm always scared, but it always ends up, each one is just a little bit better. So that's a great attitude to have, 100%. Thank you, everybody, for joining here in our conversation with Holly Henry, a custom bootmaker out of Colorado. If you have any questions for Holly, please put them in the live chat. I want to back up for a second here, Holly, and I want to talk about where your interest in leather working and bootmaking came from. Is this something like that's run in your family, or did you just happen upon this craft in another way?
It was completely random. I've always been an artist, and I was a photographer for a long time. I started my professional photography career when I was 14. I was selling pictures online and had a pretty good following on Flickr, if anyone remembers Flickr from back in the day. So I went to school for photography and was like, this is my life. This is what I'm going to do. Absolutely sure. And then like halfway through college, I just kind of freaked out and was like, this isn't working. I need to figure something out. And I thought I wanted to make saddles. So I actually started emailing a bunch of saddle makers here in the States and like just begging, can you teach me this craft? And because I have ridden horses for a while and loved horses for my whole life. So I thought, oh, maybe this will be cool. And absolutely no one got back to me. Like there was one guy in like Ireland or something that was like, yeah, we'll take you on, but you have to move to Ireland. So I kind of, thought about that for a while. And then I looked at classes at my school. I went to a art college where you could take classes in any subject. Like you didn't have to settle into a major. So I saw this fashion design course that was footwear, shoe design. And I thought, okay, I'm just going to try this. And it was like day one of that class, I just fell in love. And I was like, this is it. I have to make this my life, my job somehow, some way. So that was like 2016. And ever since then, I've just been trying to make it work, done a lot of apprenticeships and following it.
That's awesome. Good for you. I'm so happy that you're following the dream and doing well for yourself, winning these awards and getting the recognition that you deserve. Why don't you? I see that you have the boots back there from Wichita Falls. Can you show everybody and myself here the winning journeyman pair?
Yeah. So these were made for me. So they're getting some love. They're getting broken in.
Yeah, they look way better broken in too.
Yeah, they're starting to get that nice kind of collapse in the ankle, and super comfortable. For my kind of becoming my everyday boots. I have 2 pairs of everyday boots now that I can work with. So I'm trying to give these some love and attention as well.
Now, how are you somebody who like babies their boots and you put the shoe trees in there, maybe some of the top shapers to keep it all straight and everything? Or you just like, these boots are going to sag, they're going to be everyday boots, they're just going to get worn in and live life?
They are living life to the fullest. My philosophy is that if I want to make some super nice fancy boots, then I'll do it one day. So, and I kind of I'll bring the other pair in now, and these were made on my personal last as well, and they're kind of more of a scratch boot. They'll probably stay a little bit nicer. I actually haven't worn them at all yet.
Wow, that looks great. Alligator?
Yeah, I think so. I thought they were crocodile, but I don't think it is. I think it's
It looks
alligator.
awesome. That's awesome. You got to have a special moment to wear those. You haven't worn them at all. I mean, what's the event that you got to wear those at?
I don't know. I kind of, when I made them, they were to be like an everyday pair of boots, because I make jeans for myself as well, and some of them are a little tighter, and they like in the leg even is not tight or not loose enough to go over a pair of full cowboy boot tops. So I made these thinking like, oh, they're little form-fitting ankle booties. I can wear them with any jeans that I have. So, and then the more I made them and got into them, I'm like, man, they're just so shiny and nice. It's not bad to have a pair of sample boots, I feel like, too, that just look really good for, if you go to a show or try to be a vendor somewhere, to have a good pair of, look at these nice boots that aren't covered in horse poop.
That's fair, but at the same time, they are built on your last and you know it. So, I mean, if you're going to make a sample pair of boots, you better make them to not your size.
Right. Yeah, I know. It's tempting. They'll get worn eventually.
That's awesome. I love it. So going back, you said you had, you've done a few apprenticeships. You've had mentors, a few mentors, including 2 who have been on this channel already. They've done the Ask the Bootmaker thing with the Mad Taylor and Jim Brainerd in Colorado. And I'm curious, how do their styles differ in the shop? I have a feeling that they differ quite a bit.
Yeah, it's night and day. Well, working with Millen, who's the Mad Taylor, that was really my first out of college, real world experience, like serious experience. I worked for a couple of hat makers in New York City before I met him. But that really kind of launched my desire to like make boots work for my career. But Milan, he's just so inspiring, and I learned more from him than like in the world of clothing, pattern making, sewing. I couldn't really even sew before I went and worked with him. I did a little bit of stitching on footwear in college, but that was pretty much it. So working with him got me really comfortable on the machines, and just like making my mind work harder of how can I make this different or interesting or stand out. And it was just a really inspiring place to be. And actually, after I left New York, I had an apprenticeship with Zephin Parker in Houston. So it was right before pandemic. I left New York and went back to Houston, where I'm from. And I apprenticed with Zephin for about a year. COVID kind of screwed up stuff for us. But that was really a good experience as far as just like classic boot shop and kind of like a classic apprenticeship. I probably inseamed and bottomed out hundreds of pairs of boots. So while me sitting here now, I've only really made like 10 full pairs of boots all by myself from top to bottom, start to finish. I have that advantage of, all of this work on hundreds of pairs of boots, repair on, boots coming into that shop. That was a really good, just for getting that muscle memory going. And then now with Jim, it's been really good just working on repair with him too, which is what the apprenticeship is intended to be. I have, again, the advantage of like him being a bootmaker, me being a bootmaker, and he's allowed me to help him with his customers' boots. But learning repair from him is like, again, just a whole new skill set. And I feel like when you repair stuff and when you like are able to break down boots and saddles and anything and see how it's put together, that makes your brain start working and thinking, how can I construct things the best to my ability? Because that's what we really want. Custom boots are beautiful and they're whatever you want them to be, but at the end of the day, it's about their longevity and their construction, and how is this thing going to be built to last for generations. So that's been a benefit for working for Jim for sure. And machines, he's so good with the machines. I'm trying to learn as much as I can, even though I'm not mechanically minded.
Yeah, that's like his thing, right? He collects the machines and then sells them at the shows too, right? So I'm sure, like, are you getting to have experience with lots of different kinds of machinery that you wouldn't have had otherwise?
Yeah, he will liquidate shops. Mostly it's repair shops that are going out of business, whether it be boot repair or saddle repair. So I've also gotten really strong physically, showing and helping him move. All the machines we use are like hundreds of pounds and made of like, cast iron and whatnot. So after I, sweat and move them around and all, I have gotten to see a lot of what's out there and, just try to listen to his advice and what he just says about machines and take little mental notes as I slowly build my shop piece by piece.
That's really cool. It sounds like you're able to take all of these experiences from not only different mentors, but also different places. New York City, Texas, and then also Colorado now. Like, those are all different places. And your creativity must be just like flourishing right now by being around all those people and all those different experiences.
Yeah, every place you go has kind of a different flavor. So yeah, New York City is very different from, even here in Parker, Colorado, outside of Denver. It's a whole other world.
Yeah, no doubt. I'm scared of
I
it.
like this a lot more than New York City, I'll tell you what.
I don't blame you. I don't blame you.
Not a city girl.
Me either. I'm definitely not a city girl either. All right, let's get into the live chat here with some questions. Mad Taylor is here. He says Holly is just the best. Good to see you here, Mad Taylor. All right, let's see here. We got a question here from Tegan Bowers. Do you have a favorite toe shape to work on at the moment?
I feel like most of what I am making right now is kind of like a box toe style on the narrower side. But I really want to work more with some kind of more refined round toe and even like a little French toe. I think the French toe is pretty sexy. So
Yeah, it is.
like to anyone out there that wants some cowboy French toe, holler at me.
I might have to take you up on that one because
Yeah.
French toe is one of my favorites. So good, and there's not enough of them out there.
Yeah, it's a really nice look.
Graham Richard asks, where are you based in Colorado?
I'm in Parker, Colorado. I'm just outside of Denver.
We got another question here from Zach Roller. Have you worked with Pirarucu, like that fish skin, like the big bass, at all?
I have not a big fan, not gonna lie. I purchased some carp leather many moons ago. Whoa. And to like, I know it's not the same fish, but it's a fish, and it just felt so darn delicate that I was like, how is this gonna work? So I don't know. It could be in the future.
Yeah, I thought the same thing, that the Pirarucu was going to be so delicate, but it's been pretty good. Like I'm kind of impressed with it. Are you not a fan of the how delicate fish could be, or are you not a fan of how it looks because it looks so flaky and weird?
Yeah, I don't like how it looks and that weird, like the 3D-ness of it. Like it looks like Anteater, which is no longer in production, but Anteater at least is like has that nice kind of smooth texture that I can live with.
Yeah, I read that that's why it became popular, the Pirarucus, because it kind of has that same texture, and because you can't make Anteater boots anymore, this is like taking its place. But it's that 3D-ness of it is really, really creepy. I mean, it's one of the creepiest leathers going, just because it's like flaky, and especially if it's like tanned in certain colors, it kind of looks like it's just skin flaking off or zombies. It's just like so creepy. But yeah, it's so like, gross.
Yeah. I don't know. Ugh.
Yeah, it's gross. It's gross. Yeah. But like I wasn't a huge fan before I tried some, and then I tried some, and the leather is so soft. Like I love them now just because of the way that they feel.
I won't completely close my mind off to
it. We got another question in here from Jim Brainerd. How's it going, Jim? Good to see you. What is different about your way of making boots compared to a company like, say, Blackjack? Jim asks.
I suppose the uniqueness of the custom process, where you get to go from the very start to the very end. If you're a solo maker, that intimate connection with your customer, with the boot, the materials, and just that true custom fit. Because like even with repair, and Jim will understand, we have a lot of people that come in that they order custom boots where they're either measured by someone locally, or they send in their measurements, they do it themselves, and then those are shipped off to somewhere else, and the boot is made and it comes back and it doesn't fit. So we have a lot of those customers coming to us for alterations or repairs or whatever and they're spending close to what we would charge for a custom pair of boots for these boots that they're saying they're custom, but they're not really, and they're not fitting, they're not working. It's super common for that to happen. So I don't know, it's a unique experience for the maker and the client. And I feel like once you go that way, then that's it.
Yep, never
Nothing
going
else
back.
will do. Yeah.
I hear you. Yeah, I think that there's definitely a big confusion in the industry between true custom boots, like what you and Jim and Mad Taylor do, and then also what I guess I like to call special order, where you're ordering the colors, the toe shape, the heel size, but just in your last size. Like it's not a last that's built to your foot. It's just the off the shelf last size.
Yeah. Oh yeah. There's a big difference for sure.
No doubt. And maybe someday we'll get around to doing that. But a lot of brands, they like to call it custom just because, it gets up to your level, even though it's not, it's just the marketing of it all.
I mean, it's better than nothing else, I guess, but true custom. Yeah. I like that. What did you call it?
Special order.
Special order. Yeah.
Yeah. I think I got that one from a Mark Fletcher. I think he's like really into discerning the difference between true custom, as you would imagine, and special order. So like he drives that all the time on social and online. So I'm like, that's good. I'll take it.
Yeah. Yeah, indeed.
So what is your favorite part of the boot making process right now? I know you said you maybe got like maybe 10 pairs, 10, 12 pairs under your belt right now, but what's your favorite process of the boot building experience?
Even though I'm not super experienced with the top stitching, I am really enjoying what I have done, either on my own boots or helping, Jim. He's allowing me, putting a lot of trust in me and allowed me to help with some of his orders. And it's just so like, I kind of go into my little headspace, or I'll usually have like podcasts going or just listening to music. And it's very like meditation time for me, just, letting the tops go by and trying to feel that harmony with the process. It's definitely not what I'm most comfortable with, but I am really enjoying that lately.
That's really cool. Where are you getting your stitch patterns right now? Are you making them up, or are you getting them from public domain, or maybe some of Jim's patterns or other bootmakers' patterns?
Yeah, so the politics of stitch patterns is I can't speak to it with a lot of experience, but from what I know, you've got your kind of classic shops or makers, and they have their personal stitch patterns, and you don't touch those, unless you can call someone up and ask them for permission to, duplicate a pattern. There's definitely a lot of inspiration. You can see something like a classic stitch pattern and be inspired by it. But so for the most part, I try to make my own, which I also really struggle with. It's just a lot of having like an eraser that's like this big that I can scrub away and make adjustments. It's super challenging, but I do try to make my own for now.
Yeah, that's got to be difficult because when you're talking about that, I'm thinking about like songwriting from like a folk music perspective, where you kind of want a song to sound kind of old, but not so like out of touch and out of date, but kind of reach that sort of timelessness. So it's kind of a tough balance to hit in songwriting. And I can imagine maybe there's a similar thing with making your own stitch patterns. Like you want it to look classic, but you also don't want to infringe on anybody's intellectual property. or something like that? Are you finding like you're trying to find a balance between making something look timeless or vintage in the past, but not copying it completely?
I don't think it's very hard to make a cowboy boot look classic. I think they're just so innately classic, it
Fair enough.
doesn't really even matter what you stitch on them. Or I mean, even if you look at like, Graham Ebner's boots, he just made these really wonderful pair of boots with all this crazy inlay on the tops. It's like an armadillo getting abducted by aliens or something.
Yep. With mushrooms and all
And
of
like,
this. Yeah, it's so
yeah,
psychedelic.
like crazy as they are, you still just look at them and they just look like classic cowboy boot. Like, they don't look new age or anything. So
That's fair.
I don't
That's
think
fair.
it's too hard in that realm. But there's definitely certain characteristics of chops or makers that I try to be inspired by, but also not duplicate completely. Like, I don't know, I think of like Blucher boots out of Oklahoma. They're like super class. And like, you can just look at a pair of boots, even by someone that trained by someone out of that shop. And, you can just tell, okay, they learned that way because the shape of the tongue or, just the whole style, the way the heel is shaped or whatnot. But I think that's exciting too, to take those qualities and classic traits and kind of absorb them, pass them down through the line. You can kind of see that lineage. I listened recently to a podcast that Lisa Sorrell was on, and it made me realize that I know like absolutely nothing about the history of cowboy boots, because she can just, she's like a historian, but someone like her could easily look at a pair of boots and be like, they probably learned from this person, or that pair of boots was made in Texas, or that pair of boots was made in Oklahoma or Kansas, or, I like that about cowboy boots.
Yeah, me too. That's a good point. Thanks for sharing that. I want to remind everybody that you can ask Holly any questions in the live chat if you have any more questions. This is a nice opportunity to be able to ask custom bootmakers any questions. So be sure to take full advantage of this opportunity. And I got a couple more questions here myself. And this one has to do with going back to Wichita Falls. And I saw a post on Instagram, either it was your post or you were tagged in a post after you won the Journeyman Award. And it said, "Look out, boys. This year's Journeyman is no man." I loved it. It was so cool. It was such a good post. Does competing in a male-dominated industry motivate you a little bit more during these competitions, or does it just come with the job?
Maybe subconsciously, yes. I'm very proud to be one of, in the minority of bootmakers, but, more and more, there's so many talented female bootmakers. We even have our own monthly Zoom call meetings. There's like, at least 10, 15 people that kind of regularly show up, and, we talk and plot world domination and all of that. But
that's what I'm talking about.
And that's special and everything. But I love, this bootmaking community. I'm so happy to be a part of. All the men, all the women, everyone is just awesome, super welcoming and so friendly. And that's another reason why I love going to both of the trade shows, because, everyone that lives kind of in the South only goes to Wichita Falls, and everyone that lives up north will tend to go to Sheridan if they go to anything at all. So I get to kind of meet everyone and see everyone that doesn't go to, one or the other show. But they're all awesome. Everyone's wonderful.
Yeah, it was so cool to go to the Wichita Falls one myself and meet everybody in person. I wasn't sure how that would be received, me being there, not being a part of the industry, just trying to run around with a camera, filming everything. Like, who knows, like, who's this weird YouTube guy? But everybody was very welcoming, and they even invited me to the party. So like, I thought that was so cool. I didn't expect it, but yeah, it's so welcoming. I was
Oh
very
yeah,
impressed.
because we're all secretly trying to convert you, get you in some custom boots.
Oh, I can't wait for the day. Once I have enough money, I'm going that way and never turning back. Well, maybe I'll turn back a little bit just to do the videos, but that's
I mean, you
what
can
I'm
never
really
have
looking forward
it
to.
at the end of the day, right?
What was that?
I said you can never have enough boots at the end of the day, so
So
it's not
true.
like you
It's so true.
do it yourself.
I gotta get a pair from everybody.
Yeah.
Let's jump back into the live chat here. Got a question from Brennan Fitzgerald. Ever had somebody ask to stitch a tattoo pattern so that their boots matched their tattoos, like in a top stitching?
I have not. No. Could be
Sounds
cool.
like a cool collab, like working with a tattoo artist to find a stitch pattern.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen leather be tattooed, like with a tattoo gun and ink, tattoo like a veg tan leather, and that's always kind of sitting in the back of my mind. That could be a very cool collab one day to like, instead of tooling a pair of boot tops, to like tattoo.
Oh, that is cool. And it
Right?
stays?
I think so. I believe it was like a Japanese shoemaker. Um, if I can find them on Instagram, I'll send it to you. Super like full color. It looks just like a real tattoo on flesh, but it's on cowhide and it's on a shoe. So if there's any tattoo artists out there that want to collab, DM me.
Yeah, that would be so cool. I hope somebody's watching.
Yeah.
That would be awesome. Nathan asks, what would you say to someone on the fence about getting their first pair of custom cowboy boots, making that switch from off the shelf store boots going custom? What's your sales pitch?
Don't think about it. Just do it. um, or be careful, because I think once you have a custom pair of boots fitted, then you just can't do anything else. I used to work as a wrangler in Houston. It was muddy, nasty, rainy conditions all the time, and I was like, I need a pair of boots that I can just kick around in and work in. And I went to Boot Barn and started trying stuff on, and was just like, oh, like I can't. So be careful, it's dangerous, it's addicting.
That's one of my fears once I finally get into it, for sure.
Yeah, right.
We were talking about top stitching before, and Daniel here asks, what is the most difficult part of the boot to work on for you? Is it still the top stitching and you're like working through that, or is there a more difficult part that every time you come to it, man, you're just like, man, this is really hard?
I really think it varies from boot to boot. Different types of leather will fight you in different ways. Just comes to mind like ostrich, either like helping Jim or watching him, battle this bird. It can be really tough. Or, things like a kangaroo leather doesn't have a stretch grain either way. So it's kind of wily in that way of like, you gotta, I don't know, get it just right and speak to the leather, listen to the leather. Also, I feel like the most intimidating part, other than top stitching for me now, is the outsole stitch on the curve needle. It's just such a big, scary machine. I'm definitely getting more practice in and getting better. But it is super scary, and it's just so sad when you just sew right off the edge of your toe or something. You thought you were doing so well, and then, but it's a lesson in fixing your own mistakes, which is a good skill to have as well.
No doubt. Tell me more about this ostrich. Like, I hear this from a lot of bootmakers, and ostrich is seeming to be like the most popular exotic leather for cowboy boots now, but it's hard to work with.
Yeah, it's I mean, it's a great leather for boots because it's super durable for how thin it is. It's a flashy looking leather. I love the way it looks, and I have a pair of ostrich Lucchese's that I love. I feel like if you've ever actually looked at the skin and held it, it's like the flesh side of it it's like fluffy. It kind of has, I mean, it's a bird, so it probably has more fat, than like a cow in the skin. So it kind of has that, for as tough as it is, it has like a nice soft temper to it. When you wear it, it'll kind of relax and hug your foot nicely, but it's a wily bird. It just doesn't, crimping it is really hard. Lasting it is really hard. It's mostly just that, like the forming of it, if you're going to use it for inlay or whatever, no big deal. It's super thin. So, it's not like skiving. It's a hard thing or whatever, but yeah, it's a tough one.
Interesting. It's it kind of makes sense, I guess, but every time I hear it, I'm just like, wow, that's the most popular, it seems like, exotic for cowboy boots now. And who knew that it was that hard to actually shape into the shape of a foot of a boot?
Yeah, it doesn't really want to stretch where you want it to stretch. Maybe it wants to stretch in the other direction, or not at all.
I
But
got another question here for you. So you're part of this new generation of young bootmakers, and I'm wondering what you see for the future of custom bootmaking. Are you excited about its future? Are you a little nervous about the custom bootmaker future? Like, where do you stand on the future of custom bootmaking?
both. I'm excited and nervous. Excited that I found something that I love doing so much and that I seemingly have some talent at. But it's nerve-wracking thinking of the future of, ultimately one day I hope to have my own shop, but there's just so many questions of like, just the first big question is location. Like, where's the best spot to be? Is it Texas where everyone else is, or is it somewhere completely random out here in the mountains? Just, does it even matter anymore because social media, people can find you wherever you are? So I don't know, but I feel like I'm fully dedicated to this path at this point. So mostly I'm excited to keep getting better, keep learning from whoever I can, and making the dream come true.
That's awesome. Good for you. I'm so happy for you. And it sounds like you have a good support system with the Zoom call that you guys have every month, which is awesome. Like, that's got to be good for the next generation of young bootmakers as well.
Oh yeah, definitely. And just seeing people at trade shows and really getting to, sometimes we talk on Instagram and we're all supportive of each other, but really just getting to sit down and kind of cut loose and, have a couple of whiskeys and what. Hey,
Yeah.
It's good. Like, that's like I said kind of before, that this community is just so wonderful. Everyone is so welcoming. All of the older generations of bootmakers are just so like giving with all of their knowledge, because like Lisa Sorrell says, there's always going to be more customers, more demand than there are makers. So we don't have to compete. We don't have to be cutthroat. We can just share our knowledge. Everyone, can get better together and grow as a craft. And I really appreciate that about bootmakers.
Yeah, that's great. And I love everything that she says is always so wise. And I feel so much more smart after I talk to her. I'm like, oh, wow, I feel so much better about myself and I feel smarter. She's the best. Is she in those Zoom calls too?
Yeah, she's come to a couple. First one she showed up, I was a little bit like, oh, there she is. But then I got to meet her at Wichita Falls and really like sit down and actually talk to her. And she's, she's just a person. She's awesome.
Yeah. Yep. It's so true. She
Definitely.
is the best.
I feel like she's got so much, like such a wealth of knowledge that I hope I can learn from, just even just the history of this craft that I thought I knew a little bit about, but I don't think I know really that much now. So I got to learn from her.
No doubt. Maybe she's next on the mentorship. If you could.
Maybe. Yeah, I'm trying to stick in one place for a little while. I have two pets now, so try to keep me a little bit grounded.
I hear that. I hear that. Well, that's all the questions that I have for you, Holly. Thank you so much for joining. Can you sort of share where people can find you and how they can order boots from you? She's an award winner now, guys. So like get in now before she wins the next award and the prices go up even more.
Yeah, every award price is double, so watch out. I'm just joking. So my main thing is Instagram, Holly Henry _custom. I You can DM me. My email is, well, I don't know, just DM me. That's probably the way to get in touch.
No doubt. Instagram is where it's at. Well, thank you so much, Holly. I appreciate your time. Best of luck in the future competitions. I'm wishing you the best, continuing the winning streak and everything. I would love to see, you come out of each one of these trade shows with at least a ribbon or an award of some sort. Like, let's keep the streak up.
I'll try to start making now, so I have plenty of time to get it right for the next one.
That's what I'm talking about. Well, thank you so much for watching, everybody. We'll see you next time on Ask the Bootmaker. Holly, if you want to stick around, you're more than welcome to. But I'm going to say goodbye to everybody, and I'll see you tomorrow morning for coffee and music. Cheers, everybody. Have a good one.
Bye.
All right. We are off.